All right, let's go ahead and get started. So the question was, let's go over hot potato. So again, let's just kind of reference, understand what the problem is asking you to do, how many inputs are required, and what data types, what's the expected output, what data type, give an example of inputs and outputs, expected outputs. Do I need any other variables? Break down the problem into smaller problems. Do I need to use iteration or control flow? Run your code often, write one line / section of code, and then execute it. Then debugging. We haven't really encountered a whole lot of debugging, but that is a good thing. It's an extremely valuable skill. So you're the teacher of a class with 5 students. Student 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that sounds like a list to me, like a list of students. And you want to play a game of hot potato. Initially give the potato to student 2. And after each turn, the student will give it to the student to the right. So to the right. So student 0 will give to student 1, and student 1 will give it to student 2, student 4, so on. We'll give it to student 0. Okay, so it looks like student 4 will pass it back to student 1. Okay, write a method taking in the number of turns and return an integer representing the student the potato lands on without using loops. Okay, who wrote this? Gus, did you write this one?
Yeah, I wrote that one. Sorry, I'm not a writer.
No.
Maybe a little hard to understand, but yeah, I wrote this.
Oh, one. No. I just without using loops portion. I was like, ah.
Yeah,
So,
I'm trying to get like the more mathematical operations side of the problem.
So So my initial intuition was to use just a for loop and loop through, and then if it went to the last, just keep iterating through. All right, so if we can't use loops, what other data type can we use? So I'm thinking, well, if we can't use an array, when in doubt, kind of default to an object. So the first thing I want to do is I know the expected input, expected output, the number of turns. So I want to declare a data type that I can store student 0, 1, 2, and 3, and 4 in. So with that, I'm going to say, let's declare an object and store students into key value pairs. So do I need to declare any other variables? So initially give the student to potato student 2, and after each turn, so I'm going to have to return an integer representing the student the potato lands on. All right. So I probably have to declare a starting student variable and assign it to like the hot potato. So it would be like the hot potato start. So how you spell potato variable and assign it to the initial student, which is 2. All right. Now there's some mathematical operation without using for loops. This is actually a pretty difficult one because you have to kind of understand essentially like what modulus is and how to use that. So I'm going to declare let initial or student object and then I'm going to start at the very top. Well, it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to 0. I guess I can do keys. So initial student is 2. So that's who's starting with it. Then I can just do, 1. So the student to the right of 2 is 3. 2. The student to the right of 3 is 4. And 3. The student to the right of 4. So the student to the right of 4 will give it to 0. So it goes 0. And then 4. And student 0 will give it to student 1. So that's my initial student object. So it starts at student 2, passes to student 3, student 4, 0, 1. Now I'm going to let like a hot potato equals, which is the starting value of 2. And so I'm thinking, so if hot potato starts, if its initial value is 0, so it goes 0, it's 2. If it goes to 1, 3, if the initial value is 2, 1, 2, so 4. If the input is 5, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. So if it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it goes back to here. So it goes to 0 once it goes to 5. So what can I use? So if a value of 5 is the input, and I want to give it back to essentially the key of 0, what mathematical thing can I use in JavaScript? So what divided by what? Or yeah, what essentially, if I'm using 5, so let's actually look at it.
Modulus, maybe?
Yep. So modulus 5 returns the remainder. So if I pass in 5 as the number of turns, 1, 2, 3, 4, but I need to go back to here and grab this value. So if I do 5 modulus, so if the number of input modulus 5 returns 0, okay, but what about 6? So if I use 6 modulus 5, the remainder of that is 1. So that's exactly where I need to be. So I can use modulus to solve this instead of an array, or I'm sorry, instead of a loop and an array. Interesting. Or, I mean, I guess I can still use an array. I'm going to use an array. I'll do it this way, and I can show you like the way is it with the array. So if num of turns is less than 5, so if it's like 2, 1, 2, I can grab the keyword. Is that right? So I can say hot potato equals student. Is it the student object? Yeah, because I want to return the student who's holding it on. So hot potato, number of turns, number of turns. Let's just console log that. And put a couple of inputs just to check it out. Potato, and let's just do 0, 1, 2, 1, 2. So if hot potato is 0, it should console log number of turns is 0. 0 less than 5, that's true. The value at the student object where the key is 0 is 2, so it should return 2 right here, or like, so there's 2. Let's try 1. So if 1, it should return 3. All right. That should be 4. And let's try. All right, so what's the highest one? So yeah, let's just try 4. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it should equal 1 because the value at the student object where the key is 4 is 1. So else, I'm going to console log num of turns modulus 5 to see what that looks like. So if I type in, 6, or let's do 5 first. So if 5 is input, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's 0. So 5 modulus 5 is 0, which is this value, or is this value. So if I do 6, it should be 1. Oh, which is 1, which is good. And now if I do 7, it should give me the key of 2. Oh, this is working. So I can do HotPotato equals, I can say let new HotPotato equals number of turns modulus 5. All right, and then I can say student object and access that value, new HotPotato. Now I can console log HotPotato, run it. So 4. So if I put in 7 down here, I get 4 console log, which is what we need. I can return HotPotato. Let's run those test specs. Cool. Now we can also try to do it with an array. Can we do it with an array? 0. And just use indexes. So 2, 3, 4, 0, 1. Instead of using an object. Student array. Student.
I think you put another 2 instead of a 1, Tom.
Oh, thank you. Oh, what's going on? What the hell? There we go. So we're dealing with an array now instead of an object. Still passes. So the array, the way the array works, it's very similar. It's just accessing the index of the array instead of the key of the object. And this is probably my preferred method. That's just what I would do because I initially started to do that. But once you said no loops, I was like, oh, crap, I can't use arrays. But arrays do work. All right. What other questions do you have about this specific problem?